Hi folks, and welcome into the Truck King YouTube channel. Today we're looking at this, the redesigned 2025 Ford Expedition. Now Ford really went to work on its full-size SUV, so we have a lot to talk about. In this video, we're gonna go for a drive, talk about all the new features, the new interior, the powertrain, and then we're gonna go off-road in that new Tremor model and see how it handles, so make sure you stay tuned. Let's start with the powertrain, and there's only one engine available in this Expedition. It's the 3.5-liter twin-turbo V6 EcoBoost, but it is offered in two different outputs. The base version of the engine makes 400 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, and then if you step up to the high-output version, you're talking about 440 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque, and those are sent through, the power I should say, is sent through a 10-speed automatic transmission. So I won't say Expedition is brand new for 2025, but it is a heavy refresh, and you're just going to tell that by the way it looks. We have a brand new nose here, a whole new fascia, even in profile it looks a little bit different than it did before. So to my eyes it looks good, but of course that's subjective. I want to hear from you. Drop in the comments right now and let me know what you think of the styling here on this updated Expedition. We have to focus on the back end of this Expedition now because there's been a big change back here, and you're about to see it. Ford has installed what they call the split gate. So this is not a brand new idea. A lot of other brands have done this. And in Ford's case, it's actually powered on the lower too. But it's kind of nice. I think the real advantage is that when you open your top gate, you still have your little tailgate up. So if you do have groceries or things in the back that could roll out, well, you have a little load stopper there, which is nice. And then if you ask Ford, they're also happy to tell you that this is for tailgating. I don't know how much real tailgating you're going to do with this, but yes, that's definitely something they are trying to push.
Well, you can at least sit on it, Steve.
Oh, that's true. Here, weight testing. Pretty solid, didn't break. Now I can tell you about a couple of the features back here too, because there are quite a few. We do have 12-volt power, we have a pair of USB-C ports, we have a 120-volt 400-watt outlet, so that is nice too. A couple of rings down here so you can actually tie stuff down, and then you also get these cool lights up here in the hatch, and they can actually be adjusted, so if you want them to point sort of backwards or straight down, you can do that too. And again, the idea is if you're hanging out back here, you can aim the light where you want it. So yeah, a lot of sort of neat features around the back end, but this split gate is definitely something which you don't see in this segment, and Ford is very proud of it, and they're definitely pushing it as a major change here on the Expedition.
Does that back glass open, Steve?
The back glass does not open, and that is worth pointing out because a lot of vehicles in this segment do have the glass that opens individually of the hatch. Ford hasn't done that. They've just gone with their split gate design. So now finally let me hit you with towing and payload, and the tow numbers here are up. So the max towing on a 4-wheel drive Expedition is now 9,600 pounds. On the 2-wheel drive model, it's just over 6,000 pounds. If you step up to the Expedition Max, that's the longer wheelbase, bigger body, you're gonna get a few hundred pounds less towing, but yes, still 9,600 pounds at the top end is a significant number for an SUV like this. And now let me go check the payload on the door jamb sticker. So this is a platinum model that we're driving right here. That means it's a top trim, and you're talking about 1,360 pounds of payload, which is honestly pretty dang good for an SUV like this that is expected to be loaded up with people and stuff.
And now it's time for Does Steve Fit?
And I better fit, because when you're testing a big full-size SUV like this, that's what it's all about, right? Hauling people and full-size adults with you. So first, I like to start with the baby seat situation. We do have captain's chairs here. Both of these have lower latch and top tethers. And in the third row, there are 2 lower latch positions, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. So let me climb in now. This is listed at just over 40 inches of legroom, and it's a ton. I fit in here just fine. Headroom is just enough, but I still do fit. I stand at 6'2". And the real beauty of these second rows these days is you get many inches of adjustability out of these seats. So if I want to pull forward to give more space for the third row passenger, I can do that. Plus, I can also recline this seat significantly. And what's cool, actually, I just felt it as I recline the back, the bottom actually comes up a little bit to make it more of a flat seat, and it's more comfortable. So yeah, really comfortable second row. Then when it comes to amenities, I do get full HVAC controls down here. I have a 400-watt plug down below. I get my little light, and I get a vent up here in my face, which is actually pretty important for second row passengers. So nice to have that. Right in front of me too, I get a pair of USB-C ports, which are pretty cool. And then one thing we don't have here in this model, but they have brought out for the Expedition, is a device holder, which goes on the back of these headrests in the front, and that's going to hold your tablet or phone. So rather than put in an entertainment system, Ford has just decided, hey, you already own a screen, bring your own screen along with you, and they'll give you the device holder. So that's second row. Now let me climb in the third. And I'll also point out, I love how these seats tumble, because a seat that moves forward like this means if I have my car seats installed here, I don't have to take them out to access the third row. And for all you parents out there, you know that's a big deal. So I'll climb back here now. So on paper, this is just over 36 inches of third row legroom, and it's actually also quite a bit. I have more than enough knee room. I have enough headroom up here, and of course this seat could be adjusted back or forward, but yeah, my knees feel just a little bit tall, but barely tall whatsoever. So I gotta say, this is one of the best third rows I've sat in quite a while. I also got my own vent up here right in my face too, so you're getting HVAC even when you're all the way in the back. Over here I have two USB-C ports. I have powered recline in my third row, that's pretty fancy, and even my own little cup holder here. So yes, that's why you go for one of these massive full-size SUVs, because you want a third row that is legitimately sized, and you could put a full-size adult back here and they're going to be comfy. And I got to tell you, this new Expedition checks that box. Now let me out, please. There we go.
And there he goes, folks.
See ya. Alrighty, folks, and now here we are driving in this new Expedition. So, Dad, I honestly think the biggest changes really happened here in the interior with the technology. But before we get to that stuff, why don't you just talk to me about the way it drives? You know, what do you think about the powertrain, suspension, comfort? Is anything jumping out to you? Does it feel like a big step forward? What are you feeling?
It feels like a gradual improvement over previous generations. And to add to something you mentioned earlier, it's across the industry when we look at sort of these big, comfy SUVs. They used to be very big, floaty boats.
Sure.
And I'm not saying this is a Ferrari, but it's tight, it's well-mannered on the road, it goes exactly where you point it, there's no effort involved. And then when we go to the other part of it, which is it's comfortable, it's quiet, you know, truly, this is a bus. However, it's a bus with a purpose, and I think Ford is moving in lockstep with the other manufacturers to make not just a better interior, but a better driving experience overall.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And yeah, like to your point, there's no real body roll when you go through the corners, and that's something we just sort of got used to with our full-size SUVs, just that big roly-poly feeling, and even from the passenger seat, that's really not here, which is nice. So yeah, beyond that, let's talk about this interior. Everything going on up here with the dash is brand new. And so I think the first question I'll ask you is, what do you think about that screen up there that's now been sort of raised up, pushed back into the dash? Ford says that this sort of takes the place of a head-up display. There is no head-up display here because you don't really need it. So yeah, what do you think about sort of the eye level of the screen? Do you agree it's sort of easy to grab that information?
And normally that's kind of marketing speak, but in this case I buy it because, yeah, you know what? They've put a lot of stuff up here, including my nav, my radio controls, you know, speed, output, gas gauge, which is a good one. And it is. It's right dead in front of me. And then interestingly, they flatten the top of this steering wheel, and by doing that, they've really given me kind of an unimpeded view of that screen, because normally with a normal wheel, you know, it tends to block whatever gauge cluster you've got, at least parts of it at different moments.
Sure.
So yeah, that part of it I get.
There are police reported ahead.
Thanks, Waze.
We appreciate that. So I did want to just say, from the driver's seat, the overall comfort, the styling, everything in here is so finely finished. White stitching, you know, laid against materials that have great feel to them. Everything about this interior is upscale, and granted, this is not a cheap truck, so to a great extent you would expect that. But you know what? Road trips to me were always the best, particularly when my guys were young. I still hate getting on an airplane every day that I have to do it. I'll drive anytime I get a chance. And when you're driving in this thing with all your people, the whole tribe, this is going to give you a great experience. That's my takeaway when you're looking at something like Expedition.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you know what, Dad? I think that's just about enough for on-road, because now we're going to go off-road with the new Expedition Tremor and see if that thing is legit or if it's just an exercise in marketing. So let's go check that out.
Okay.
Just before we go off-road though, let's do a walk around here on the Expedition Tremor so you can see all the features. First of all, you're gonna notice some unique styling. Ford calls this electric spice, this kind of orange color. So you see it on the lettering, you see it on those pockets down below, and you'll see it on the wheels and other spots on the vehicle. Now, right up front here, you're gonna notice, or maybe you won't because they're pretty nicely integrated, these extra little light bars have been tucked right here into the grille. I really like these integrated lights that manufacturers are doing now. It's way nicer than having an aftermarket light bar hanging off your front end. So that's really slick. And then down below, we're getting a complete skid plate package here too. And the front skid plate is quite substantial, so I'm happy to see that. Now coming down the side, easily the most influential upgrade, like usual with an off-roader, tires. That is a set of 33-inch General Grabber all-terrain tires. They look good, and I can't comment on performance just yet, but once we get out there in the mud, I'll be able to tell you if these guys actually work well too. Now finally, there's a whole bunch of technology features that have been added here. Things like trail turn assist, that's going to drag your rear inside wheel on a tight corner and help you rotate around that corner. You're getting one pedal drive, so yes, just like the name suggests, you basically just work the throttle and forget about the brake. The vehicle will do that braking for you. You also have trail assist, or trail control I should say. That's going to be able to keep you at a set speed on the trail without you having to touch the gas or the brakes. So a lot of cool technology features, and drive modes of course. And then maybe the last most important feature I have to mention, a rear locking differential. So yeah, that's all the upgrades that come to the Tremor. Let's go see how they work. All right, Dad, now we're off-road in the Tremor. And this is decent off-roading today. Very much familiar to us coming from Ontario, because it's real muddy out here today.
And trees.
Yeah, lots of trees, lots of mud. It's actually raining right now. You're going to see that too. So we're definitely testing the mud and wet capability of the vehicle and the tires. So yeah, I guess talk to me about what you're feeling. I think my first question for you is just talk to me about the size. You know, does it feel like a massive SUV out here?
I'm not quite sure how to answer that. Let's put it this way: it's not a Bronco.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. I don't think it drives as big as it looks.
Yeah, I think that's what I was getting at. Because from over here in the passenger seat, like when you're coming down off of these little bumps and up and over these small hills, I haven't ever felt like a really hard hit that you kind of expect from a big heavy SUV. So the dimensions are what they are, but I think the suspension is doing a pretty good job at kind of masking the weight and the overall size of it, you know?
That's probably as good an explanation as any, but generally speaking, yeah, it's not banging through the forest.
Right.
It's actually picking through pretty decent.
Right, yeah, that's what I was feeling as well. Oh, coming through some water now.
Oh, there's a big ass hole here.
Nice. And, you know, just over 10 inches of ground clearance, so you got a legitimate amount of clearance, and we haven't felt any issues with the clearance yet, so I appreciate that. And then you are using the Trail one pedal drive, so what do you think about that? You like it?
I've liked that ever since the first time I tried it, because let's face it, one less thing to screw around with.
Right.
You lift, it stops. You
Right.
push, it goes.
Right.
I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it too. And I like it more than trail control, meaning you still are in control of the vehicle, you're still the one driving, but it's helping you a little bit, where trail control is the full off-road cruise control where you just take your feet off the gas and the brake. At least here you get that input.
And I think that only makes sense to me in a severe downhill situation where I just want to hold a constant speed in a real gnarly downhill. But otherwise, I want to be able to do the inputs.
Right. All right, here comes a tight squeeze. So if you saw the guy in front of us too, he kind of slipped passenger. So yeah, take her wide.
Yeah, well, it ain't
Very
small.
No,
But
it is what it is.
it's doing all right.
Yeah, and I think Ford knows that. Again, this is not the kind of vehicle that they're saying you should buy for fun off-roading. It's not the kind of vehicle I would recommend to say, hey, you're going to the off-road park, take an Expedition. No, this is a proper rough road adventure vehicle. If you do want to come camping in a place like this is going to get you there. If you do want to go out into the desert, into the BLM with your family, this is going to do that job. So I think that's really what Ford was going for with Expedition Tremor specifically, was rather than sort of pure off-road fun and off-road performance, it's more about enabling those adventures.
Yep.
And now, folks, we actually have an opportunity to tow with this Expedition. So we have a 7,000-pound boat behind us right now, and a couple of friendly folks from Ford in the back that you're going to see. But Dad, why don't you just talk us through what are you feeling right now from this Expedition? And we are in the Max model, so this is the longer wheelbase model, which is going to help with towing. Max tow capacity here is 9,000 pounds. And yeah, what do you feel from behind the wheel with the 7,000-pound boat behind us?
Well, to kind of run it down, the power is more than adequate, but then that's the least of our concerns. The braking is decent, really nice. I mean, there's surge brakes on this particular trailer. However, there is an integrated trailer brake controller for different types of setups. And what we're just a little up, a little down here out here in Indiana, and the ride is tight, it's controlled. This is exactly what you want out of a tow vehicle, something that is going to be comfortable and predictable, and that's exactly what I feel.
Sure. And of course, it's a bit of a funny story because the Max model technically has a lower overall tow rating than the regular model, but because we have a longer wheelbase here, it's probably going to feel better in the real world. Now, the reason for the lower tow rating is because this is also heavier. So you're going to get slightly less payload, slightly less towing on paper, but out here on the road, that's actually going to help that feeling. And of course, even though we're rated for 9,000 pounds here, around 7 is probably your sweet spot for this vehicle. So yeah, if you were pushing it, you'd be feeling it a lot more behind you. But yeah, from over here in the passenger seat, I feel the boat back there, but it certainly doesn't feel like it is pushing the vehicle around at all or making you work harder at the wheel, right?
And, to that point, we've had conversations with the Ford guys, and it's nice to hear them use that phrase to find the towing sweet spot. Because as we talk about so often, just because you can do 9,600 pounds doesn't mean you should. And you will do it, and you can even do it safely, but it will not be a good ride. It will not be comfortable, and more importantly, it'll be nerve-wracking.
Yeah, stressful.
So we talk a lot about the math, but then past the math, you got to find how the rig actually reacts on the road, and what makes you comfortable.
Sure. And yeah, to be honest too, with this trailer on and 700 pounds of tongue weight and all of us in here, we're probably over the payload rating on the door jam sticker too. So in this case, the math might not be perfect, but once again, you got to get out here in the real world and actually feel these things to understand, how stressful or not it's going to be. Well, folks, we have arrived at the end of this one. Now, I do have to share pricing, and you can see that in the United States, this Expedition starts at $62,000 and goes up to over $83,000, while in Canada, the Expedition starts at $83,000 and goes up to well over $100,000. So a new Expedition won't come cheap, but for 2025, Ford has added more luxury, more capability, and more off-road readiness. And now I think the big question is, can the Expedition steal some more sales away from General Motors? Because keep in mind that GM owns well over half of the full-size SUV segment. So it will be interesting to see if this latest entry from Ford can steal some market share. So folks, that's the end of this one. Now please go below, leave me a comment, let me know what you think of the Expedition. As always, while you're down there, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.